What is up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and others. So let's dive into it with Bitcoin here on the monthly time frame. We're really looking at this monthly candle here in August. So we have about 13 days left until this candle closes, and it's really going to be a matter of where this candle closes to determine if we are going to be setting our monthly lower high in comparison to this high in April, or if we are going to continue higher over the next month of September to form that lower high, because it's very likely we will form a lower high just because of the magnitude of this drawdown. We drew down over 55%. So for us to go back above that previous high in one go, we would have to go over 126%. It's very unlikely because of, how significant of a rise that would be. It is possible, as you can see, we did have a pretty significant rise here that was, well over that, but that is a outlier event in my opinion. So it's very likely that we will come up, form a lower high, and then come down and try and form a higher low. And because we've already risen over 65% off of this low set in June, it's likely that we will be able to set a higher low on the monthly time frame, somewhere above that low that we set in June. So to inform where this candle might close, we can take a look at a lower time frame like the weekly, and we can see that so far this week we've really had a bearish candlestick coming off of some declining bull volume that I talked about over the past couple weeks. So this declining bull volume is telling us that this run is running out of steam in terms of buying pressure. And so when we look at the candles themselves, they're very bullish looking candlesticks with long bodies and short upper wicks. But that's not always the only factors that you have to look at. The only factor, rather, that you have to look at when you're analyzing price. You're also going to be looking at things like support and resistance zones, technical indicators, and other things as well. And so one of the things that I like to look at, like I said, is volume, but the other thing I like to look at is support and resistance. Those are a couple of the main things that I like to look at as a trader. Obviously, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only, is not intended as financial advice. So obviously, take everything I say with a grain of salt. But I did say last week that it's very likely that we will be setting our weekly high either this week or in the following week, because we've been rising for 4 straight weeks. It's not that we can't keep going, but we are running into a pretty significant level of resistance, and we've already risen over 65%. So if we turn on the pivots indicator, we can see that this R2 pivot is the one that I said was going to really probably give us trouble in terms of the bulls, in terms of resistance, because this is a yearly pivot and it lasts the entire year of 2021. So it's very significant. And so you can see that when we came into this here, it looked like, with a close above, that we might end up continuing higher. But this week, if we close back below it, it's going to still be in consideration in terms of a resistance level for price. So if we go down to the 3-day time frame, we can see what we are rejecting off of. This is a resistance level that I've been talking about for quite some time now. And this is the resistance level back here from March of 2021. So this is very simple. It's very simple to find these sorts of levels. The first thing you're going to do is look for a 4-part bull trend. So the first part is a low, which is what we have right here. Then you're going to look for a high, which is what we have here. Then a higher low in comparison to the previous low. You can see this low did not go below the previous one. The price was able to bounce off of a level, which in this case was 46,237, which is higher than the previous one. So that's why we call it a higher low. And then we have then we need a higher high. That's the continuation that we need. So you have a drawdown, you form a low, you come up, you form a high, you come down and have another drawdown, but it's weaker than the previous drawdown, and that's the higher low. Then you need a higher high. You need the bulls to pass up the previous high that they set, telling you that the momentum is in the bulls' favor. And that's what we see right here. We get 2 candle closes above this key high, And as soon as that happens, this candle turns into a valid support level because this is the last down candle before this up move, an area where people were selling their Bitcoin. Therefore, when we return to that after a confirmed bull trend, it gives these people that were selling an opportunity to buy their Bitcoin back. That's what we see right here. They buy their Bitcoin back. If we drag our rectangle over, we can see they buy it back. We go to all-time high. We come back into it again, bounce, and then we close below it. So once we close below it, that's when it turns into resistance. And you can see that this level is indeed holding up as resistance thus far. And if we look at what this potential trade, one of the ways you can play this as a potential trader is you can go short on the bottom of this level. So that would be the bottom wick or the low of this 3-day candle. So if we grab our measurement tool and touch it to that bottom wick and pull it to the current price, you can see that we've already drew down about 6.21% from our low that we set here, back in, I can't see it right now, back in March. So we're seeing that rejection off this level. Now the question is, this candle closes in 20 hours. We're likely going to see increasing bear volume because we're already really close to getting there now, and we still have a full day left of trading. So it's going to come down to where, how far down does this push in the next 20 hours? And then after that, how far down does the next 3-day candle push? Because in my opinion, if we're seeing increasing bear volume over these two candles, it's likely that we are going to see at least a bit of continuation over the next 3-day candle. But I do think we will form a higher low somewhere above this previous low from 37,267. That's because of the magnitude of this move. Once again, a very significant rise in price off of that low. So if we look, it was almost 30%. So it's very likely we will form a higher low somewhere. And I'll talk about where I think that might be in just a moment. So if we look at this from a single day perspective, we can see that we just confirmed a daily bear trend, and you can see that is leading to further downside today. So we had a high, low, lower high, and then lower low with 2 candle closes below this key low, and now we're drawing down further from that point. If we close 2 single day candles below this blue level, which is our candle from August 12th, this will turn into a resistance zone for price because this is already this has been a support zone for price. You can see it bounce here, and then we come into it here a second time. If we close 2 candlesticks below it here, this will turn into a resistance zone that if we retest it will likely push price down somewhere in this zone, basically between this low and this low. So that'll be something that I'm watching for over the next 2 days, is where are those candles closing. And so if we go down to the 12-hour time frame, before we go to the 12-hour time frame, I just wanted to briefly talk about the super guppy indicator, which has finally turned green. So this has been a long time coming. We've been waiting for this to turn green for quite some time. I've been talking about it and kind of this whole zone here once these started to kind of flip over and the investor EMA started to turn bullish. So now that we have that, if we come back into this zone, basically from 42,714 all the way down to roughly $40,100, that's going to be a support zone for price, and that's likely where I will look to go long, and where I think the weekly higher low will potentially be set. So that's something that I'm keeping an eye on. It's one indicator that I like to look at. If we look at this from a pivots perspective, we can see that we have the daily pivot down here still at about 37.7, and then we have this resistance level up here, the R1, which is at about 46.2. So if we go down to the 12-hour, we can see that we have indeed, well, actually, let's go to the 8-hour because I think it'll just be easier to see. So if we look at this from an 8-hour perspective, we can see a couple things that I pointed out in yesterday's video coming to fruition. So this level right here, I talked about this towards the end of the video. If we continued that 8-hour trend and validated it as a bear trend, this level would turn into resistance, and that's exactly what we're seeing right here. So what happened was we have a bear trend here. We have a high, low, lower high, and then lower low with 2 candle closes below the key low. making this last up candle, and we know that based on the green volume right here, our resistance zone for price on a retest. So we come right into this zone, and we see we have this declining bull volume coming in. That's here another signal of confluence in this scenario, saying this is likely for price to reject off this level. We reject right off the body of the candle right here. And sorry, it just said that I went offline. Hopefully it'll come back online in a moment. But either way, if we could just finish the video on the 8-hour time frame, it doesn't really make much of a difference. So if we look at this from an 8-hour perspective, like I said, we're getting that rejection off of this yellow resistance zone right here. And there we go. My Wi-Fi is back on. And then we're going into this support level right here. So we have one bounce here, two bounces, and now we're coming into this for a third test here. So when you test this, when you test a support level several times like this, it's getting weaker with every test. And so one thing that we need to keep in mind with this is if we do get 2 8-hour candle closes below this level, the purple level back here from August 8th, we are going to end up turning this into a resistance zone. And then I'll expect to move down to this purple level down here, which we're not going to be able to see because my Wi-Fi is acting up, but it's a 6-hour candlestick back here that is black. It was our last kind of down candle before a continuation on the 6-hour time frame. So this is a support zone that I would expect price to kind of bounce off of, and this is about around $41,200, $41,300 roughly, and it goes down to about $40,400. This is untested as well, so if we come back down to that, it is likely that that will end up, but we'll actually, probably have at least one bounce from that level. So that is what I will be watching. That's all I got for this one, guys. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And if you haven't already, check out our beginner technical analysis course on Leutheria.com. And this is where you can learn the foundational elements of trading crypto assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other altcoins. And you'll learn everything from trend analysis to technical indicators to candlestick analysis, volume analysis, and a ton of other things as well that'll help you get started in the cryptocurrency economy. So if you are just getting started learning how to trade these assets, definitely check out that course that we have. You can use the link in the description below to get 20% off of that course. And until tomorrow, onward and upward.